Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Kind of feels weird saying that because I haven't filmed in like 6 months. Anyway, today I'm going to show you guys kind of like a do's and don't of what you should and shouldn't do for your makeup. So one side might be like things I used to do that I don't like anymore, or things I've noticed people doing. And then the other side, I'm going to do little tips to like help you lift your face more and, you know, just make it look more flattering. So let's get into it. I'm going to start with my base. So I already moisturized my skin. I'm going to do one side of my skin with a primer, a pore primer, and I just want to show you guys the difference. So this is going to be the good side. So I like to apply primer only on the areas that I have pores. You don't need to like overuse it, but you'll see the difference of how smooth it looks as opposed to not using one. For my foundation, I mixed the Nars Soft Matte with the Fenty Hydrating moisturizer, and I'm just gonna apply this to both sides. So nothing crazy here. I actually like to tap it in with a brush and then right away blend it out with a beauty blender. So now that I applied my foundation and concealer, I'm gonna get into contouring. So this is a very important part. I'm using my Vanity Makeup Cosmetics Medium Trio. Now, this side I'm gonna do the don't. So, ooh, what did I do? How did that get there? Okay. So this side I'm gonna use the contour. Now, what I've noticed people do is do their contour underneath their cheekbone. Now what this does is actually droop your face, because you need to remember wherever you add your contour line and you blend, it's going to expand. So once this expands, it's actually going to go even lower and make your cheekbones droop. Now how you should do it is actually up here, right on top of where your bone is. This is actually going to lift your face. So now when I blend it, you guys will see the difference. So I'm blending this with the Japonesque 718 brush. Now let's blend this side first. Now once I blend this, as you can see, my cheekbone is more drooped. And now I'm going to blend this one. Now this way, my whole face is kind of lifted, because obviously once the cheekbones are lifted, the face is lifted. So, see the difference? It's actually such a huge difference because it's like something so little, right? Anyway, so this one's better. Now for the second part of contouring, the nose. So what I've noticed that people do sometimes is actually contour the side of their nose like this, but what you should do is actually contour the face of the nose, because this is what makes it look skinnier as opposed to the side. Now I don't know if you're gonna really tell much of a difference once I blend this, but let's see. Alright, so we're blending this side, so this is giving more of a shadow to the side of the nose, and it's actually making the nose look wider. Now we're gonna blend this side, which we're doing like the face of the nose. So this actually makes the nose look more pinched, because you're putting the shadow on top of the nose, so it's making it look more narrow. Now once you put the shadow on the side of the nose, it's actually making it look wide. Maybe you can't tell much of a difference because it's like on the same nose, two sides, but you guys get the point. I'm going to use the color in the middle. Now what I've noticed is people applying the highlight just underneath the eyes. Now what you should do, this is really important, is actually add your highlight to the side of the nose, because this is actually gonna take away that shadow, so it's gonna make your nose look more pinched. Let's blend it. Now let's blend this side. Your highlight might go a little bit over your contour, but you can always just grab the brush that you blended with originally and just kind of like blend those two together. Now let's get into forehead contour. Now forehead contour is a little tricky because everyone's forehead is different. So some people might need to contour more, some people might need to contour less depending on the size of their forehead. So obviously the bigger your forehead is, the more you want to contour just to kind of bring it in more. a lot of people apply the contour and they don't blend it well. So what you see is like this black and white contrast, okay? That's what you don't want. Now, a better way to do it is apply less product, just very lightly, and you want to you want to blend, okay? And you kind of want to bring it down, and I also like to take it into my temples. So you can kind of go down to your eyebrow, and then you can grab your beauty blender and just kind of blend that all in together. So now you have like this nice ombre. What you don't want is this line, because the line makes it look really obvious that you tried to contour it. So now we're gonna set the face, the under eyes, whatever. So usually you just kind of like do this, set it, set the eyes too. Now you see how there's still a shadow here because the highlight kind of should go more on the side of the nose. So what you want to do first is actually set your under eyes a little bit with a powder. So this is the shade C3, and I'm going to use the other side of my beauty blender, which is clean. Now I'm going to apply this right on the under eye area. What this is going to do is kind of give more of a clean look, because with that colored powder, you're kind of like blurring everything in together. This is really good for people that have like darkness. And then with the setting powder, we're actually gonna bake the side of the nose. This is gonna make it like more snatched too, because you're kind of like baking the highlight. So it's gonna make your nose look thinner. And then whatever's left over on your beauty blender, you can just kind of like blend it in. And let's also set the eyes. So look how much smooth this looks, and look how cakey this side looks. Now instead of setting my whole face with a translucent powder, I'm actually just gonna set the whole thing with a foundation powder. And you don't have to use a foundation powder, you can also use like a pressed powder. Just anything with a little color, and you don't have to do it so dramatic, just very lightly with like a fluffy brush. This is from Patrick Ta. And with this, I'm just gonna kind of like push it in. This is gonna give a much smoother look because you're still setting with a powder, but because it has a little color, what it does is actually blend your highlight, your contour, everything in together, and just gives like a softer look. So another thing that I wouldn't do before and I do now is actually applying a hydrating spray right after I set my makeup. So I feel like this kind of just brings everything in together, as opposed to leaving it kind of like dry with like so many powders on it. So this side of my face, I'm just gonna. Now in the beginning, it might seem like too wet, but it actually, okay, should stop now. It actually like kind of brings everything in together. Just make sure that it's something hydrating, because you need a lot of hydration after all these like powders and creams and all that stuff. All right, let's move on to the blush. So I'm actually gonna use these two colors from this new Hourglass palette. It's called the Lighting Edit. I'm mixing the one that's a little pink with the one that's a little mauve. Now most of the time what you do is just apply your blush to the apples of the cheeks, right? So this looks actually very like dramatic, and it gives too much of a contrast between your blush and under your eyes, which is so much lighter. Now what we want to do is grab less. First, always start off with less, because you don't know how much pigment you're going to pick up. And we're going to smile, and we're going to apply to the apples of the cheeks and just lightly swipe over your contour. And again. Gonna do it lightly on the apples of the cheeks and then kind of just slide it. Now I like to also add a little bit blush to my temple because I feel like it just warms up the overall look. Now I feel like this one looks so much more smooth and this one just looks really dramatic and patchy. So moving on to eyeshadow, we're gonna do this side with the shadow directly in the crease. So this is just like a transition color. Okay, just like that. Now this side, which I like to do it this way, is applying it a little bit higher, because this actually lifts your eyes and kind of like on the outer ends. Now sometimes I like to add a little bit shadow to the inner corner right here, just to give some dimension. So look at the difference. This side looks much more lifted, and I like to kind of like sweep it outwards too. This actually makes your eyes look longer because it's giving kind of more of a shadow to the outer ends. Now with a smaller blending brush, I'm gonna go into the dark brown. And usually you just kind of do that like this, kind of like halfway over like that, right? And then kind of like go back and just blend that out. Now I like to actually grab my dark brown and add my shadow right underneath my original color and just kind of like take it out. Make it look as wide as possible. So the more you take it out, the wider it's gonna look, as opposed to keeping it right on your lid. You're just kind of like keeping the shape of your eye. Now, unless you know, obviously you want to keep the shape of your eye, that's fine, but I like to always make it look a little bit longer with shadow. So I just picked a color in between both of these just to kind of like blend those into each other. This side looks way more lifted. So now moving on to eyeliner. I'm actually using the Inglot number 77. This is nice and dark. So usually what you would do is like start on the lid here, right? And then as you start from here, you just sort of connect it all the way, and then you'll add your line. Okay, just a simple way of doing it. So that way you actually shape your eyes the way you want it. Now the trick is to actually look forward when you're doing your wing, because that's how you're gonna know how it looks when your eyes are open. So I like to start from the end of my eye and just kind of take that upwards. And then I'm gonna flip my brush over and connect that going in. Now, one thing I like to do is go thicker on the outer ends and go really thin on the inner corners, because I feel like it just makes my eyes look better. As opposed to going thicker here, it kind of closes my lid. Alright, so on to lashes. I'm just gonna put this regularly, just a full strip. And I put some glue. My glue's actually kind of dry. I need new glue. And just gonna place that on. Okay, let that dry a little. Now I'm gonna take this other one and I'm actually gonna cut it a little more from the ends. I lost my little scissors, so I just have to improvise. And I'm gonna apply this more on the outer ends, because that's actually gonna lift my eyes more, as opposed to doing the whole strip. So I'm not saying you have to do like a half strip, but I feel like whenever I do more of like a 3/4 strip, it lifts my eyes a little. Now before I apply my lashes, I'm actually gonna curl it. This side I didn't curl it. Whenever you curl it, it actually just blends better. And you don't have to do it with this lash because it's already like so dramatic, but like the more classic lashes, like the ones in the white tray, you always want to curl this lash first. So I'm gonna do this one a little bit. So I'm actually just giving it a little lift before I apply it. So while this kind of dries, I'm gonna go on to eyebrows. So usually, this side. What I would do before is just kind of like do a straight fill, give a little arch here. Right, this is kind of like the easy way to do it. It's nice and simple. Just kind of like more straight, so just maybe do some brow strokes here. This is honestly how I used to do my brows for a long time. Just like that. So now I'm going to do the other side a little bit differently. So I'm going to start off by using a brow soap, brow wax, whatever you want to call it. I actually ordered this from Amazon. It was like $5. It's called Untitled. And before I do anything, I'm actually going to spray some product in there. And then with my spoolie, I'm going to pick it up. Just kind of get like a good amount. I like to kind of just go like that with my spoolie. Just kind of angle it. Now after I get a good amount, I just kind of take some out on my hand just to make it nice and blended. And I'm gonna first pump up the brow. So this is gonna actually give your brows a lift. And it's gonna give more of like a natural pushed up look as opposed to this, which is so dramatic. So after that brow kind of dries, we're gonna go in with the pencil, and now we're just gonna give it some brow strokes. I like to kind of fill this little area right here because I have a hole there. And now when it comes to the outer ends, I'm just kind of giving more brow strokes on top so that it can look more lifted. So now I'm gonna apply some powder. I'm actually using a more warm color because this brow wax kind of gives like that ashy look. So I kind of like to balance it out with something more warm. So I'm using this shade right here. This is Warm Brown from Arches and Halos. And now I'm just gonna go back in with those brow strokes. And I like to go really light on in the front area, and then on the ends, I like to apply more product. So I feel like this side looks more like lifted and kind of like pulled out. Another thing you don't want to do is apply your black pencil liner just on the inside and just leave it like that. I've seen this a lot and I feel like it looks so like harsh because you just kind of have it on your waterline and nowhere else. So instead, I like to, it doesn't matter if you're going like all the way or halfway, but what I like to do is actually apply it on my lash line and my waterline connected, and then I'll grab a pencil brush and then just smooth it. So I'm just blending this in together so it's going on the waterline and the lash line, but it gives more of like a soft look as opposed to like so harsh. And this actually makes your eyes look really small whenever it's just on the inside. This way you're just blending the pencil in. I like to do it more like halfway. I mean, sometimes I like to add a little bit more on the inside, just depends how dramatic I'm going. Or I'll just add a little bit like this, just to give more of like that catty look on the inner corners. But on the outer corners, I like to definitely have a more smudged look. Another thing you want to do is, if you're going to apply the gel liner or pencil liner to your waterline, you want to apply it to the top of your waterline as well, so that whenever you keep blinking your eyes, the waterline on the bottom doesn't get faded. So the more it keeps touching together, nothing's going to happen because the top and the bottom is coated with black liner. And I feel like when you do this, it actually gives like a nice lift to your eyes too. Kind of like blends everything together as opposed to this one, which looks a little more empty on top. And lastly, we're gonna get onto lips. So normally we would just get our lip liner and kind of just overline the color that we're gonna do, right? What I've been doing lately is actually contouring my lips a little bit on the lip border just to give like a nice shadow. So instead of working so hard on overlining with lip liner, which actually looks more fake, I like to just give a little bit shadow with my contour. So with the medium contour, I'm just giving a little bit shadow. This is actually a better technique if you like to overline your lips. And you just kind of want to blend it. You can go in with another brush, like a bigger brush, and just kind of blend it all together. And I like to go over it with a beauty blender that has some product left over. This gives a more natural look. And now I'll go in with the lip liner. So this is more of like a layer, sorry, this is more of like a layering effect. Now I'm gonna apply my lipstick to, oh, what happened to this lipstick? I guess it's done, or it melted. This is the Staycation from Huda Beauty. You guys see how this side has more of like this pretty dimensional look? It actually looks much better in photos too. Another thing that I've been doing is just grabbing a little bit concealer, just a little, and just applying it to the inner middle part. Again, this is just also to give some dimension. And you can actually go over that with like a gloss. Alright guys, lastly I'm just going to apply some highlight. I'm applying my Cream Glow just along the center of my nose. It's just going to give a nice kind of pop also to the tip. Alright, so what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. I feel like this side looks way more lifted. This is definitely like one of the biggest differences because this shadow right here just really makes it droop, and this side looks way more lifted. I don't know if you can tell in this lighting, but, and I feel like the brows made a huge difference. This side looks more like pulled up, more soft. This just looks dramatic. Anyway, just little tips, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it helps your makeup routine. Let me know how you like it, and let me know what you want to see next time. Mwah.